just riding on my skates, looking at my biscuit.
So I just watched Bikeriders, and honestly, it's in my top 3 movies of the year. I loved it. The characters were interesting, the actors' performances were great, and the experience of watching it was relaxing in a way. But then it got serious later on, which made it kind of suspenseful. The movie is inspired by a book that had an interview of someone else explaining their experience with a biker gang. Yap Sesh. One thing I had to compliment right away is how the movie changes the vibe as time goes on. The first 30 minutes felt like a slice of life kind of movie, where the audience hangs out with a biker gang called the Vandals, and we get to see the life they live. There's biker fights, both with each other and other gangs, hangouts, drinking, and of course, dominating the road as a group in their motorcycles. Benny Rizzler and Kathy were having a fun life during this section of the movie, and Tom Hardy's character, Jimmy, is the leader of the gang, and everyone looks up to him because of how tough he is. They weren't necessarily the nicest people in the world, but they had a pretty chill life, I would say. Got into some trouble here and there, but nothing insane happened. Not until later on. As more people join a club, the more dangerous it gets. The new guys are just completely crazy and evil to the point it scares the main characters. This is where the vibe transitions from being chill to worrying. The story ends up being about Kathy trying to get her husband Benny out of the biker life, while Jimmy is trying to find a new leader as he's struggling to keep the new members in check. By the end, it gets super suspenseful, and that's when it actually gets you worried and scared for what's bound to happen. The reason why I love this movie so much is because it reminds me of hood movies like Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood. At least it does when it comes to showing the consequences or horrors of being part of a bad group. Instead of having hood stuff though, it's just biker gangs this time. And while those movies are still better in comparison, Bikeriders is still a fun watch. Also, that's quite the high standard. I don't think any movie from this year could compare to those two. If anyone tries to compare the quality of 2024 movies to Do the Right Thing, you know that person has holes bigger than their mouth. Enough about the hood. Let's get back to the dangerous white people. I truly felt immersed while watching Bikeriders to the point I felt like I was there with the characters, even though the story is being told from an interview. That's probably what every movie should do, but there are times where I could just tell that I'm watching people act, or feel as if something is super exaggerated. Being immersed while watching a movie is something I appreciate a lot. Are there any flaws? Yes. One thing I wish I had were subtitles, because there were many times where it was just hard to understand what some characters were saying, especially Jimmy. You know, it was, bike rider,
boy.
You would know what's happening just by paying attention to the actions being made, but my god. Please let some of the screenings have subtitles. That's the easiest way to fix this problem without messing up the authenticity. Overall, it is a great movie you should definitely see in the theater. I love Tom Hardy, and I'm starting to see Austin Butler become an icon, especially with movies like this and Elvis being on his portfolio. Actually, I'm curious about myself. Let me see what I have on my portfolio.
Made a movie, got my money up. Overdose on lasagna. Is it really middle? That's too bad, I do not give a fuck. Irons Visor, ass, so I'ma call up John to beat him up. All he does is yap, and that's the reason why he got no substance.
I will never be an icon. I'll give this movie 4.5 stars, a Roger Ebert thumbs up, and a Gene Siskel thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm gonna tell you the definition of aura. Aura is when you have like an energy that's popping out, like everyone could feel it. Just like how Goku powers up and you see that stuff coming out in the air and other people's like, oh my god, his power's so strong. That's what aura is. Austin Butler's character, Benny, my god, he had so much aura. He literally defines aura. I had to tell you about the first part of this movie. There's this girl who's one of the main characters, and she sees Benny, bro, at a bar, and she already has a boyfriend, but she let Benny take her home anyway. And you see his boyfriend like all mad when she shows up at like 4 a.m. and then they just go to sleep. But Benny is just sitting there on his motorcycle across the street. He's just waiting. And you know what happens eventually? The boyfriend gets angry. He's like, I'm done with you, to his girlfriend. And he just leaves with his stuff. He got his suitcase, his bag, his truck, leaves. Then finally, Benny gets up. And he's like, oh, you want to go out later? Oh, you want to drive? I'm not kidding, bro. He literally just stood there and took her away. He took her, bro, just by sitting there, waiting, smoking cigarettes. Like, I don't even, like 10 cigarettes on the floor. He just waits and just grabs her. Like, that's crazy.